Purpose. It's a word that echoes through the minds of creators everywhere, a beacon in the distance, drawing us forward as we navigate through the noise, the expectations, and the ever-shifting landscapes of platforms and audiences. For many, the creative journey begins with the urge to share something, an idea, a vision, or perhaps a feeling that words alone have struggled to express. But as budding creators begin to share their work, a subtle pressure creeps in. Likes, shares, comments, and subscribers become the yardsticks by which we measure our success. Gradually, the act of creation and the pursuit of approval become intertwined, and with this, our sense of purpose sometimes slips from our own hands, shaped instead by the desires and judgments of those we seek to please. But what if it didn't have to be this way? What if true creative purpose could flourish not by conforming to external expectations, but by embracing a radical kind of freedom? A freedom rooted in the simple fact that you don't have to please anyone. There is a transformative power in letting go of the compulsion to be liked, in making things not for validation, but for the sheer joy and necessity of making them. In this space, purpose becomes deeply personal, unshakable, and profoundly rewarding. The journey to this freedom, though, is rarely straightforward. As creators, we're taught early on that our work needs to resonate with an audience. Don't get lost in self-indulgence, they say. Be relatable. Be relevant. We scroll endlessly, comparing ourselves to others whose metrics seem unattainable, whose voices are louder, whose successes feel absolute. The temptation to chase trends, to mold our ideas into shapes we think will get attention, can feel irresistible. The risk of being overlooked, criticized, or misunderstood is ever present. But what lies beneath this need to please? At its core is a very human desire for connection and affirmation. We want to know our work matters, that it reaches someone, that it's recognized as valuable. Yet if this becomes our sole focus, creativity dulls. Originality gives way to imitation. The spirit that once drove us to make something out of nothing is slowly replaced by a kind of creative exhaustion, a burnout born not of effort, but of aligning too closely with what we think the world wants. To reclaim our purpose as creators, we must begin by disentangling ourselves from the relentless need to please. This isn't about rejecting feedback or ignoring the wants of others. Rather, it's about shifting the center of gravity back to where it belongs, our own curiosity, our own vision, our own delight in the process of making. When we no longer need to please anyone, something remarkable happens. We rediscover a sense of play, of risk-taking, of honest exploration. Mistakes become experiments, disappointments lose their sting, and the creative journey regains its richness and unpredictability. Consider the artists, writers, musicians, and makers whose work has shaped the world. The ones whose creations endure across generations did not achieve greatness by following someone else's blueprint. They pushed against the current, ignored the critics, and followed an internal compass that owed nothing to the expectations of others. They trusted that their voices, though at times misunderstood or dismissed, had value simply because they were authentic expressions of the self. Freedom from the need to please did not make their path easier, but it made their work genuine and lasting. For every creator, the challenge is personal. It's about recognizing the signs that you are creating primarily to appease an audience, rather than to express something uniquely yours. Do your ideas feel derivative, shaped by what you've seen trending or popular? Do you second-guess your instincts based on imagined reactions from strangers? When negative feedback comes, or when your work is met with silence, does it paralyze your creative flow or spur it onward? These are questions worth sitting with, for they can reveal the subtle ways in which the need to please has crept into your process. Freedom, in this context, does not mean disregard for quality, for impact, or for the experiences of others. It means releasing the belief that you must sacrifice these things for approval. Instead, you create from a place of integrity, shaping your work according to your own standards and letting the chips fall where they may. This is where purpose is rekindled, not as a fleeting feeling of being liked, but as a steady internal conviction that what you are making is enough. How then does one cultivate this freedom? It starts with intention. Before diving into a new project, pause and ask yourself, why am I making this? What need or curiosity am I addressing for myself? Whose approval am I seeking? And what if I let go of that need, even just for a moment? In the quiet space that follows, you may find answers that surprise you, answers that challenge old habits and invite new ways of thinking. Set boundaries around your creative practice that protect it from comparison and the unhelpful opinions of others. This might mean creating for a period of time without sharing, refraining from reading the comments, or choosing not to track metrics. It may feel unnatural at first. After all, we are social creatures. But over time, you'll notice your creativity becoming more resilient, your ideas more original, and your satisfaction deeper. Allow yourself to make things that feel risky, strange, or unpopular. The works that history remembers were almost always greeted first with confusion, skepticism, or outright rejection. Be willing to surprise yourself. Good things happen at the edge of comfort, where the compulsion to fit in gives way to the thrill of discovery. This is where your voice emerges, unfiltered, unforced, and unmistakably your own. Remember, too, that your journey as a creator is ongoing. There will be times when the urge to please resurfaces, triggered by new challenges, failures, or comparisons. In these moments, return to your purpose. Write it down, speak it aloud. Remind yourself why you began creating in the first place. Purpose is not a destination, but a practice, a muscle that grows stronger as you exercise it, faltering at times but never disappearing entirely. A curious thing happens as you grow more comfortable with not needing to please anyone. Paradoxically, your work begins to resonate more deeply with others. Audiences crave authenticity. They are drawn to creations that bear the unmistakable mark of the individual, that pulse with the energy of genuine exploration and risk. When a creator is free from the weight of expectation, their work carries a sense of aliveness, an invitation for others to do the same. In liberating yourself, you offer liberation to those who encounter your creations. The freedom of not needing to please anyone also opens the door for connection on new terms. Rather than seeking validation, you are now inviting engagement. Rather than bending to every critique, you are open to conversation, growth, and mutual discovery. You can appreciate feedback and even adjust course, but you do so without abandoning your purpose or your vision. Your work becomes both personal and communal, a dialogue, not a performance for approval. There is, of course, a balance to be struck. No creator exists in a vacuum. Our ideas are shaped by the world, and our creations can have real impact on others. To be purpose-driven is not to shut out voices, but to be discerning about which voices shape your intentions. Seek collaborators, mentors, and community that encourage your growth without demanding conformity. Find audiences who value your authenticity rather than your appeasement. In this environment, the need to please transforms from a source of anxiety into a choice, one you may embrace or set aside as your purpose demands. For those just beginning the creative journey, the pressure to please can feel unavoidable, especially when algorithms reward sameness and audiences rarely see the struggle behind finished work. But even here, there is opportunity. Use early obscurity as permission, to experiment, to fail, to find your voice without the weight of constant scrutiny. Understand that growth is not always linear, and that the most profound leaps happen when you are unafraid to disappoint, unsettle, or even alienate. The paradox is that the road to meaning, impact, and even success begins with indifference to those very outcomes. For more established creators, the challenge may be different, a temptation to repeat what has worked, to cater to an existing audience, to avoid risks that might erode hard-won approval. Here, too, freedom is possible. Creative purpose is not a static thing. It evolves as you do. Question what once gave your work meaning. Redefine success on your own terms. Allow yourself to outgrow old expectations, both your audience's and your own. Ultimately, the purpose for creators, the foundation that supports all meaningful creative work, rests on this simple truth. You do not have to please anyone. The world will offer limitless opinions, both generous and harsh. Metrics will rise and fall, sometimes for reasons beyond your understanding or control. What endures is the relationship you cultivate with your own creative spirit. In tending to this relationship, you unlock a rare freedom, the freedom to make not for applause, but for the pure act of making. In this freedom lies a deeper belonging, both to yourself and to the world you hope to shape. Your work becomes an offering, an artifact of your journey, an honest expression of what it means to be alive, curious, and unafraid. And while not everyone may understand, appreciate, or applaud what you create, you will know the satisfaction of having served your own purpose, first and always. There, amid the swirling chaos of opinions, trends, and expectations, you will find the truest kind of creative fulfillment.